Airports aren't just busier in 2026, they're stricter. And more travelers than ever are being denied boarding before they even step onto the plane. Not because they did something illegal, not because they missed their flight, but because of small details they didn't even know mattered. And that's the scary part. Because in 2026, getting to the airport early, having a valid ticket, and holding a passport is no longer enough. Airlines are checking more, systems are flagging more, rules are being enforced earlier, right at the gate. And once boarding is denied, there is usually nothing you can do about it. What's catching people off guard is that many of these denials don't feel serious at all. A tiny passport issue, a missing online approval you thought you could do later, a carry-on bag that's flown with you dozens of times before, even something another passenger on your booking did wrong. And by the time most travelers realize there's a problem, their bags are already tagged, the gate is closing, and the airline has moved on. In this video, we're breaking down 11 real reasons why more travelers than ever will be denied boarding at airports in 2026. These are not extreme cases. These are everyday situations happening right now, quietly, consistently, and without much warning. Some of these reasons will make you rethink how you book flights. Others will change how you pack. And at least one of them will surprise you because it can happen even when you did absolutely nothing wrong. If you're flying in 2026, even just once, this is one of those videos you'll be glad you watched before you got to the airport. Let's start with the most common reason travelers are being denied boarding, and it's something most people don't check until it's already too late. Number 1. Passport damage you didn't realize mattered. This is one of the biggest reasons travelers are being denied boarding in 2026, and it's catching people completely off guard. Most travelers think a passport is either valid or expired, but airlines are now trained to look for physical condition, not just the date. Small things that seem harmless are suddenly a big problem. Water damage from years ago, pages that look a little wavy, a loose cover, a corner that's bent, even faded details on the photo page. Travelers argue because the passport has always worked before, but that doesn't matter anymore. Airlines are stricter because if a destination refuses you entry, the airline gets fined and has to fly you back. So in 2026, if staff see damage that might cause an issue at immigration, they can deny boarding right there at the gate. No appeal, no second opinion. The worst part is that most people don't check their passport closely until they're already at the airport, and by then, it's too late to fix it. Number 2. Missing digital travel approval. A huge number of travelers are being denied boarding because of something that doesn't feel like a real rule yet. Digital travel approvals. Online entry authorizations, pre-arrival forms, different names, same outcome. In the past, you could often sort things out on arrival. In 2026, that assumption is getting people stopped before boarding even begins. Airlines are now required to check that these approvals are completed before you get on the plane. What makes this worse is how quiet these changes are. Travelers book flights, pack bags, show up early, and only find out at the gate that they needed to apply online days earlier. At that point, applying on your phone won't help. Approval can take hours, days, or longer. Even transit passengers are being caught by this. People think, I'm not leaving the airport, but some countries still require digital approval just to pass through. If it's missing, boarding can be denied without discussion. Number 3. Name mismatch between ticket and ID. This one feels petty, but it's becoming one of the fastest growing reasons for denied boarding. In 2026, airline systems are far less forgiving about name mismatches. A missing middle name, a shortened first name, a spelling error you didn't notice when booking. Something that used to be fixed with a quick explanation is now being flagged automatically by systems that gate staff can't override. This is especially common with third-party booking sites and travel apps that autofill details. Travelers only realize there's a problem when their boarding pass won't scan, or when staff compare the ticket to the passport and stop the process. Once that happens, fixing it at the airport is difficult, expensive, or impossible. Some airlines require reissuing the ticket entirely. Others simply deny boarding if the name doesn't match exactly. In 2026, the rule is simple but brutal. If the name on your ticket doesn't match your passport character for character, you're taking a risk every time you fly. Number 4. Carry-on bag fails the gate check. This is one of the most frustrating reasons travelers are being denied boarding in 2026, because it often happens right at the gate when you think you're already safe. Airlines are enforcing carry-on size and weight limits far more aggressively than before. Bags that fit overhead bins for years are suddenly being measured in metal frames and weighed in front of everyone. If your bag doesn't fit, you're told it has to be checked. And if the flight is full, that's where the trouble starts. Some travelers refuse to pay the last-minute fee. Others argue that the bag always fits, and some simply don't have time because boarding is already closing. In those situations, airlines can deny boarding rather than delay the flight. This is happening more often because airlines are under pressure to depart on time, and gate staff are no longer allowed to bend the rules. In 2026, if your carry-on doesn't clearly meet the limits, it's not just a fee problem anymore. It can become a boarding problem. Number 5. Power banks and battery limits. Portable chargers are another growing reason travelers are being stopped at the gate. Most people carry power banks without ever thinking about what's inside them. But airlines do think about it, especially on longer flights. In 2026, battery limits are being enforced more strictly. If your power bank is above the allowed capacity, or if it doesn't clearly show its rating, staff can refuse to let it on the aircraft. And because batteries are not allowed in checked bags, that can leave travelers with no safe place to put them. This catches people out because many power banks don't clearly label their capacity in a way staff can quickly verify. When there's uncertainty, airlines are choosing safety over convenience. That means travelers are being told they can't board unless the item is surrendered. It feels extreme, but from the airline's point of view, it's a non-negotiable risk. Number 6. Expired or invalid visas discovered at boarding. This is one of the most painful reasons to be denied boarding, because travelers often don't realize there's a problem until it's too late. In 2026, airlines are checking visa validity much more carefully before boarding begins. Not just whether you have a visa, but whether it's the right visa, whether it's still valid, and whether it matches your travel purpose. Travelers get caught when visas expire days before travel, when they apply for the wrong category, or when entry rules change and they don't notice. Some people assume immigration will sort it out on arrival, but airlines can't take that risk anymore. If the system flags an issue, or staff can't confirm your visa is valid, boarding can be denied on the spot. Airlines would rather stop you at the gate than pay the cost of flying you back later. In 2026, visa mistakes aren't being forgiven. They're being caught earlier. Number 7. Behavior at the gate. This one surprises a lot of travelers because they don't think of themselves as doing anything wrong. But in 2026, airlines are far less tolerant of behavior that slows boarding or disrupts staff. Arguing about seat assignments, refusing a bag check, ignoring boarding instructions, blocking the gate area, or getting loud when things don't go your way can now lead to denied boarding. Gate staff have broader authority than before, and they're under pressure to keep flights on schedule. What catches people off guard is how fast this can escalate. A short argument turns into a delay. A delay turns into staff calling a supervisor. And once that happens, airlines can decide it's easier to deny boarding than risk holding the aircraft. Most travelers don't realize that boarding is considered a controlled process. If staff believe someone may cause problems on board, they can stop it before it starts. In 2026, being calm and cooperative at the gate matters more than ever. Number 8. Arrival rules changed without you noticing. Many travelers assume that if they've visited a country before, the rules must still be the same. That assumption is getting people denied boarding in 2026. Some destinations now require proof of onward travel, accommodation details, or evidence of sufficient funds before boarding. These requirements can change quietly without big announcements, and airlines are expected to check them before letting passengers on the plane. Travelers get caught when they can't quickly show what's required. Maybe their accommodation booking isn't confirmed yet. Maybe they're planning to decide later. Maybe they didn't realize onward travel proof was needed again. If staff can't verify that you meet the arrival conditions, they can refuse boarding. From the airline's perspective, it's safer to stop you early than deal with problems on arrival. This is one of those rules that feels unfair, but it's becoming very common. Number 9. Medical clearance requirements. This is one of the least understood reasons travelers are denied boarding, and it's becoming more common in 2026. Certain medical conditions require airline clearance before flying, especially on long-haul routes. This can include recent surgeries, oxygen needs, mobility limitations, or conditions that might require assistance on board. Travelers often assume that a doctor's note is enough, But airlines usually require their own approval process, completed in advance. If that clearance isn't on file, staff at the airport may have no choice but to deny boarding. This catches people out because they feel well enough to travel and don't expect extra steps. But airlines are responsible for safety during the flight, not just at the airport. If they can't confirm clearance, they won't take the risk. In 2026, medical readiness isn't just a personal decision, it's an airline requirement. Number 10. Facial recognition system issues. Facial recognition is becoming the default boarding method at many airports, and in 2026, that's creating a new kind of problem travelers aren't prepared for. When these systems work, boarding is fast and smooth, but when they don't, things get complicated very quickly. If the system can't confidently match your face to your travel documents, boarding can stall. And in busy airports, manual checks aren't always immediate. This can happen for surprisingly simple reasons. Changes in appearance, lighting issues, camera errors, or system delays can all cause a mismatch. Most travelers assume staff will just switch to manual checks, but that isn't always possible when time is tight. If boarding is closing and the system still can't verify you, airlines may deny boarding rather than delay the flight. It feels unfair, especially when you've done nothing wrong, but in 2026, automated systems are driving more decisions than ever. Number 11. Someone else on your booking caused a problem. This is the most shocking reason on the list because it can happen even when you follow every rule perfectly. If you're traveling on a shared booking and another passenger cancels late, fails a check, causes delays, or triggers a system issue, the entire booking can be affected. In some cases, tickets become partially invalid, seats are released, or the booking needs to be reissued. Travelers don't realize this until they're standing at the gate and suddenly told there's an issue they didn't create. Fixing it on the spot can be impossible, especially if the flight is full or boarding is closing. In 2026, airline systems are tightly automated. When something goes wrong on a linked booking, the system doesn't always separate passengers cleanly. And when that happens, even innocent travelers can be denied boarding. It's one of the hardest lessons in modern travel. Sometimes, it's not what you did. It's who you're booked with. Being denied boarding isn't about bad luck anymore. In 2026, it's about tiny details, quiet rule changes, and systems that don't leave much room for human judgment. Most of these situations can be avoided, but only if you know what to look for before you get to the airport. That's why videos like this matter. If you found this helpful, make sure you're subscribed for more airport tips and tricks, and check out the next video. Because what's changing at airports next might surprise you even more.